You are tuned in to The Low Band Show, broadcasting from the storm drains under the big city, where a tunnel crew runs this booth on salvaged gear, pipes humming, steady water dripping, piping surface science and tech news on a low band signal through the drains. I'm your host, Max Hertz. Welcome in. Here's what we do. We take real science and tech news from the surface, summarize it, then go deeper to educate, entertain, and shed light on what's in store for our collective future. News from the net, clear signal, and a little tunnel. If you came for hype, you took a wrong turn at the storm drain.
Welcome in. Max Hertz here, underground and on the air. Wiz, good to have you in the booth today.
Good to be here, Max. Ready to look at the latest corporate wall building.
Today, we're talking about digital ownership, gatekeeping, and the spaces where they clash. On the board, we've got upcoming changes to how you access old Reddit, and Sony's move to phase out physical PlayStation discs. We'll also look at a stark warning from the Video Game History Foundation about preservation, followed by Meta's push to put smart glasses features behind a paywall. And finally, we'll cover the latest legal blow to Meta regarding kids' safety and platform addiction. Let's get into it. The tension between platform security and the open web is scaling up again. On June 30th, 2026, an official Reddit announcement laid out a major change for its classic interface. They are going to require users to log in to use old Reddit. Wiz, is this a security play or a power move?
It's both, but mostly it's about control. They're wrapping authentication around their most vulnerable endpoint to lock down data. But let's be real. Forcing logins breaks the casual, read-only web experience that kept that classic interface alive.
Let's read the official explanation. A Reddit spokesperson announced, "Old Reddit's logged-out experience is a significant source of abusive scraping and automated traffic on the platform." Wiz, for listeners who might not know, what exactly is old Reddit, and why are scrapers targeting it?
Old Reddit is the site's simple, text-heavy layout from a decade ago. Scrapers love it because it's lightweight, fast, and lacks modern security traps like bot detection walls. It's basically a buffet for AI crawlers looking for free training data without the API tax.
The post goes on to explain how logging in fixes this, stating, "By logging in, we get a lot more signal that allows us to detect whether an account is breaking the rules, and then we can block that traffic." Wiz, how much does a mandatory account ID actually help them here?
It raises the cost of scraping. Instead of spinning up anonymous HTTP requests, a scraper now has to generate, verify, and maintain thousands of accounts on the new secure stack. It's not a silver bullet, but it turns an open highway into a toll road.
There is also the question of how long this classic interface will even survive. The post notes, "We can't promise it will be around forever, but we'll keep supporting it while folks are still using it." Wiz, does this login wall feel like the beginning of the end?
Absolutely. First, you starve a legacy interface of security upgrades. Then you fence it off to reduce the user base. Once active traffic drops below a certain threshold, you pull the plug and blame lack of interest. Classic platform decay.
A classic playbook indeed. We'll have to see if longtime mods stick around or if this is the final straw for the old school web. That's our show. Stay tuned. This one made me sit up. The physical media era is on a timer. The BBC reported on July 1st, 2026, that new PlayStation games will no longer be released on discs starting in January 2028. It's a major industry shift. Wiz, is this a natural evolution, or is physical media being forced out?
It is a business optimization masquerading as consumer preference. By eliminating the disc, Sony deletes manufacturing, shipping, and retail cuts from their balance sheet in one clean stroke. The real implication here is control. When ownership is reduced to a license key, you only rent access.
Sony's blog post describes how buying games in person will change. They wrote, "New games would still be able to be bought in shops, but they would come with a digital code." They added that consumer preferences are shifting away from physical discs to digital media.
Buying a digital code inside a plastic box at a physical store is the ultimate transition phase absurdity. It keeps the legacy retail channel happy for a minute while training the buyer to accept the fully digital pipeline. The physical store becomes a glorified gift card rack.
This move is part of a larger pattern. The report notes that it comes just days after Rockstar announced the hotly anticipated Grand Theft Auto 6 would similarly launch without a physical disc. Wiz, for listeners who may not follow the industry closely, why is a move by Rockstar so significant?
Rockstar is the commercial gravity of the gaming industry. Grand Theft Auto is not just a game, it is an event that dictates hardware sales and consumer behavior for a decade. If they decide physical discs are dead, the market has no choice but to agree. They have the leverage to force the transition.
Sony's blog post adds, "This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends, as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs." Wiz, for our listeners, what exactly is Sony Interactive Entertainment, and how does it relate to the main PlayStation brand?
Sony Interactive Entertainment is the global division that actually handles the research, development, and publishing for everything PlayStation. They are the ones pulling the operational levers. In this case, they are framing their cost-cutting measures as an organic reaction to consumer choice, which is classic corporate spin.
For anyone holding on to an existing collection of physical games, there is some reassurance in the report. PlayStation said the move would have no impact on games which are already released or would be released before January 2028. Does that draw a clear line under the physical era?
It draws a line, but it is a soft one. While legacy discs will still spin, any future hardware redesigns will almost certainly drop the disk drive entirely. Enjoy your physical library now, because the hardware to play it is officially entering legacy support status.
There is still a lot of uncertainty about how collectors and game preservationists will adapt to this digital-only future, and how retail stores will survive. We will be watching how this transition plays out over the next 18 months. Stay tuned. We have more stories coming up next. The fight here is really about who controls the history of digital media. On July 1st, 2026, the Video Game History Foundation put out a statement claiming that piracy has become the only viable way to preserve video games. This is a pretty stunning admission from an official archive.
Stunning. But it's an honest assessment of a broken system. The industry has spent years lobbying to block libraries and museums from doing this work legally. So, when the legal doors are barred, the only remaining door is the unofficial one.
The group's statement directly challenged game publishers, saying, if platform owners are deciding to eliminate physical media and older digital storefronts, then we'd also like to see trade groups like the Entertainment Software Association offer meaningful solutions. For listeners who don't know, what is the ESA?
The ESA is the lobbying group representing major U.S. game publishers, and they have consistently fought against copyright exemptions for digital preservation. They literally lobby to keep digital archives locked down, which forces preservationists into a corner.
The Foundation's statement details that opposition, noting, in 2018, the association opposed efforts to grant copyright exemptions for museums, libraries, and archives to retain copies of abandoned online games for research. Does this mean they won't even let archives keep dead games alive?
Exactly. When an online game's servers go dark, it's gone forever under current rules, because the DRM blocks community-run servers. The industry argues that community servers are illegal, effectively ensuring these pieces of cultural history simply vanish when they're no longer profitable.
Whether the industry will ever cooperate with legal archives remains completely uncertain. For now, preservation is at a standstill. That's our show. Stay tuned. The headline promises a lot. Wired reported on July 1st, 2026, that Meta is introducing a subscription for advanced smart glasses features. This is a new frontline.
It is the ultimate bait and switch. You buy the physical glasses, you think you own the capabilities, and then the software paywall descends. They sell you the future, but they lease you the features.
Wired reports, Users will need the Meta One Premium plan to unlock expanded access to some features for their smart glasses, whether it's the Ray-Ban, Oakley, or Meta-branded version. One gated feature is conversation focus. Wiz, for listeners who may not know, what is conversation focus?
It is real-time audio isolation, using directional microphones and processing to isolate the voice of the person right in front of you while suppressing background noise. And now, you only get 3 hours of that a month for free. If you want more, you pay. And even then, they cap you at 15 hours.
Meta says, the subscription supports that ongoing work and gives power users expanded access. But they admitted this is not an AI rate limit. The feature runs entirely on device with zero server compute costs. Wiz, if there is no server overhead, what are users actually paying for?
Pure margin optimization. When an AI feature runs in the cloud, a subscription makes technical sense to cover GPU compute costs. But when a feature runs on the silicon on your face, charging a subscription is just rent-seeking. They are taxing the local electricity your battery is providing.
Whether these new pricing structures will actually succeed in the market remains completely uncertain. For now, the test rollout is moving forward. Stay tuned. We have more stories coming up next. Reuters reported on July 1st, 2026. Here's the headline. A federal judge rejected Meta's bid to dismiss state lawsuits over child addiction. This matters because it pushes platform design into open court. Wiz, are we looking at a genuine reckoning here?
Definitely. It means Meta can't just hide behind marketing copy anymore. They have to face actual evidence under oath. The core mechanics of engagement loops are going to be on trial, not just their public relations statements.
The report states, the judge found significant factual disputes that must be decided at trial. They also ruled that Meta failed to comply with federal parental notice and consent requirements for children under 13 and granted summary judgment to the states on that issue. Wiz, what's the significance of that summary judgment?
It means the states already won that specific point without a trial. Meta bypassed parental consent for kids under 13. That is a direct hit to their compliance shield, and it sets a hostile tone for the rest of the case.
The text notes that Gonzalez-Rogers also oversees related multi-district litigation by more than 2,600 individuals over social media addiction. Wiz, for listeners who might not follow the legal lineup, who is Gonzalez-Rogers?
She's the federal district judge in California managing this entire massive wave of social media lawsuits. Having one judge handle the prep work keeps the legal standards consistent before individual cases go to trial.
Meta countered that social media addiction is not an established psychiatric condition, and therefore statements that its platforms are not addictive could not be false. Wiz, how do you see that defense?
It is a classic semantics defense. They are basically arguing that because social media addiction isn't an official psychiatric condition, they can't be sued for lying about it. That is a tough sell for a jury.
The judge wrote, to the extent plaintiff's evidence shows that the platforms are in fact designed to do just that, a jury could reasonably find the statements were untrue to a reasonable person. Wiz, this puts a lot of weight on what internal documents reveal, doesn't it?
Absolutely. If internal documents show they designed these features to compulsively hook children, that jury's going to have an easy decision. The trial is scheduled for August 18th.
Whether the states can actually prove these design choices caused systemic psychological harm remains to be seen. That's our show. Stay tuned.
That's our board for today. We've tracked classic interfaces, digital-only transitions, and the legal battles reshaping platform design. The new login walls on old Reddit and Sony's planned retirement of game discs show how quickly the digital spaces we rely on can shift. In both cases, we are left watching how communities and collectors navigate these forced migrations. At the same time, legal friction keeps game preservation at a standstill, while hardware developers test subscription fees for features that run on device. It is a clear tension between actual user ownership and the monetization of physical hardware. And beneath the surface, the legal pressure on design choices is mounting, with courts focusing heavily on what internal documents reveal.
Whether states can prove systemic psychological harm remains the next big question. We have more Build and Science threads queued for the next session. Until then, keep your skepticism calibrated, and we will pick up the thread when the next episode drops.
It's certainly a lot to consider. If we missed an angle, or you have further questions on these topics, please drop us a comment. We read them down here in the tunnel. And if this signal helped you stay informed, a like or subscribe keeps the pipes humming. More surface news and deeper dives are coming through the grate soon. Until then, stay curious, and we'll catch you next time on the Low Band Show.